Hello, everybody. My name is Randy, and I am alcoholic. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So I'm alcoholic. What that means to me is that my body is allergic to alcohol. I am alcoholic. I don't say I am an alcoholic because I believe to be alcoholic means to be allergic to alcohol. So when I say I'm alcoholic, what that means to me is that my body is allergic to alcohol. I can never ever drink alcohol successfully ever again, one day at a time, today, forever. Not because alcohol is good or bad, but because my body's allergic to it. The reason I'm here tonight is because I have a disease. The disease is called alcoholism, and the disease centers in my mind, and it talks to me, and it talks to me in my own voice. And it manifests today, this day, every single day of my life. It manifests as a self-talking, unsatisfiable, fault-finding, opinionated mind that's always in a hurry, easily frustrated, and can't stand the word no. If you say no to me, all that means is that I've asked the question incorrectly, and I will reword that question. And I will continue to reword that question until you either say yes or you go away. And that is my experience. So, because I have this unsatisfiable mind, it's so crazy. This year at work, I did really good at work this year. Yay. And my goal was to make it to the top performers conclave. That's what they called it. And they took all the top performers to the Dominican Republic and spoiled us for 4 days at a really nice resort. And I was at the top performers conclave. And my mind told me, you're not going to do so good this year. It's over. You're a loser. You should kill yourself. That's kind of funny because that happened at the top performers conclave. I'm going to be 36 years sober this month, at the end of this month. I still have alcoholism. I still have a disease that talks to me, and it talks to me with authority, and it tells me these things, and it shows up in my life, and it still has to be treated today, same as every other day. When I get up in the morning, I have to read some spiritual literature. Otherwise, I will start self-talking, and my mind will tell me, hey, you don't need to read anything. You just need to jump in the shower and get ready for work and go make some money. Because if you go make some money, then we'll be happy. We'll be much happier if you have more money. And it's my experience that when I have more money, I could be more happier, but I could also be more suicidal because the disease doesn't care how much money I have. It's never satisfied. And if I'm self-talking, that's where I'm going to be. So, I don't know, a little history. The first time I ever drank alcohol, I drank till I threw up, and I had so much fun. It was one of the greatest days of my life, running around in the woods with a bunch of friends, drinking and spinning and throwing up. And then when I threw up, I was excited because then I could drink some more. And that's how I started drinking. The end of my drinking, I spent 2 months in an apartment in Los Angeles on vacation at a girlfriend's house. And every day I said I was going to get out and see the city and have some fun. And every day I'd wake up and have one beer. I'm just going to have one beer. And then I was on the phone getting some other stuff. And then I sat in that room, and I sat in that room for 2 months watching that crack under the door. I never got out of that apartment. And my mind told me that I was having a really good time. And I had a brother that was in the program. He suggested that I might have a problem and that I should try this thing. And so I tried it. And I was just passing by. There's a guy who came into primetime once, I think, right? Just passing by, Bob, or he was just passing by and he heard the meeting and he came in, and next thing you know is he's sober. So I came into the program they taught me how to not drink. The instructions for not drinking are really simple. It's kind of crazy. If you don't want to get drunk today, you ask a higher power to help you not drink, and you don't take the first drink. If you don't take the first drink, you won't get drunk. That's pretty much the program for not drinking. If you want to stay sober, there's another program. That program is 12 steps, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel my obsession to drink and enable me to become happily and usefully whole. All I ever wanted in my life was to be happily and usefully whole. It's all I ever wanted. I came into the program and I did the steps like a chore. I did step 1. I read. I talked to my sponsor. I read. We talked. I didn't come into prime time. Prime time wasn't around till 1992. I got sober in 88. But I did go to like the second prime time meeting that they had ever had. And it's great to see Big Frank here. Big Frank was at the first one. I think he started it with Bob. I think Big Frank is responsible for starting prime time with Bob. But I came into regular AA, and I went to a noon meeting every day, and I met my sponsor there, and we'd go across the street and we'd talk about the program and eat lunch, and we'd read some stuff and we'd talk. And one day he says, "Okay, you're doing the first step today." I said, "Okay, what do I do?" He says, "You write 20 reasons why your life was unmanageable." So I wrote 20 reasons why my life was unmanageable, and I read them to him. And he said, "Oh, that's good. You did a good job." And we checked off check 1, checked off step 1. And we started reading and we started talking and we started, we read and we talked and we read and we talked. And then one day he said, "We're doing step 2. I said, "Okay, great. I'm making progress in this program." And, he said, "Are you willing to believe that there's a power greater than yourself?" Now, I did not come here with a higher power, and I don't believe in a higher power. I believed in nature. And so he told me to ask nature to help me not drink every day. And I wasn't drinking every day. So I said to him, "Well, I'm willing to believe that something is keeping me sober because I can't keep myself sober." And he said, "That's good enough." And we checked off step 2. And then we read and we talked and we read and we talked and we got to step 3. And he says, "Okay, we're doing step 3 this weekend." And I said, "Great." And we got on our knees and we said the 3rd step prayer, and I made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God that I had no understanding of. None. No understanding. None. And I did that. And I worked the 12 steps. And I was under the impression that the 12 steps said, now that I haven't drank for a long time, and I've done all these stupid things that my sponsor has asked me to do, and I go to a lot of meetings, and I've been a really good boy for a long time, now I should have a really good job, a really good wife, a really good amount of money in the bank, and I should live happily ever after because I'm not drinking. I didn't know until just recently that the 12 steps says having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. I'd read it 1,000,000 times, but it didn't really hit me until recently that the point of the 12 steps is to have a spiritual awakening. It's not to have more money. It's not to have a better wife. It's not to have a better job. It's only to have a spiritual awakening. But my experience is this. As my spirit is awakening, I become more attractive to everything I ever wanted. And the job and the wife and the car and the house and all that stuff is being attracted to me, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. So it's a byproduct. Everything I ever wanted, I get by doing this thing as a way of life. So I went through the 12 steps. At 2.5 years of sobriety, I was going to meeting every day. I was going to the Roxbury Men's Stag meeting on Wednesdays, and I would stand in line for about an hour to get a seat. And while we were standing in line, all the guys were standing in line. It was a men's stag, and they were all patting each other on the back and hugging each other and smiling and laughing, and I hated them. I hated all of them. I hated my life. I was sober, but I wanted to kill myself pretty much every day. And I would go to that meeting, and at the end of the meeting or at some point during that meeting, it was inevitable. Somebody would say, "Just don't drink today and you're a winner." And I would go home after that meeting and sit on my bed and I would think, what are they talking about? I didn't drink for 2.5 years. I am the world's biggest loser. I'm living in the wrong apartment. I'm in the wrong job. I'm with the wrong girl. I got the wrong car. I got no money in the bank. I hated my life, 2.5 years sober, but I wasn't drinking, and I can't drink. I can never ever drink again. I'm allergic to it. But I was thinking about killing myself. And I followed a man to a meeting, and there was a guy there named Ted Bratter, Ted Jack. And I heard him share, and he said, I don't know what else he said during his share, but one thing I heard him say was, he said, alcoholism is an unsatisfied mind. And I went, what? What? And so I pulled him over after the meeting. I said, what are you talking about? Alcoholism is alcohol. I don't drink anymore. I don't have alcoholism. I just have to go to meetings, and hopefully one day I'm going to get lucky and I'm going to find the right girl and the right job. He says, no, you're never going to find the right job. You're never going to find the right girl. If you have alcoholism, you have an unsatisfied mind. So even if you find the right girl, after you spend a little time with her, she's not going to be satisfying anymore because the disease says so. And if you might get a job, I've gotten a lot of jobs, and I've gotten a lot of girlfriends in that first 2.5 years. I got a lot of girlfriends. When I saw them and I met them and I wanted to date them, they were the most amazing creatures on the planet. It wasn't until they were my girlfriend that they were undesirable. And not because they were bad, but because of my mind, because my mind made them bad. My mind found fault with them. My mind was unsatisfied with them. And Ted said, don't take my word for it. He said, look at your life. And I looked at my life, and everywhere I looked, I was unsatisfied. Everywhere I looked, I thought I should be in a better place. I should have more money. I should have a better place. I should have a better girlfriend. I should have a better house. And so he said, alcoholism is an unsatisfied mind, and we're going to go back into these steps if you don't want to kill yourself or drink. And we're going to do this, and we're going to apply these steps as a way of life. We're going to live these steps. And I had no idea how do you live powerless over alcohol and that your life is unmanageable? And then he said, well, let's read the first line in the 12 and 12. And he taught me how to read in the first person. So in the first line in the 12 and 12 in step 1 says, who cares to admit complete defeat? So first line in the 12 and 12 in the first step says, who cares to admit complete defeat? I've read it 1,000,000 times, and I love what the rest of the paragraph says. It says practically no one, of course. Every natural instinct in us cries out against that idea. I know what all those words mean. I can read those 2 sentences or 3 sentences, and I understand them. But I had no idea that that had anything to do with me, except for that I also agree that no one wants to admit complete defeat. And he says, no, this isn't work. This is how we're going to read it. Do you care to admit complete defeat? Do I care to, I had to ask myself, do I care to admit complete defeat? And then he made me think about what complete defeat would mean, what it would look like if I was a complete defeat. And my answer was, no, I don't admit complete defeat. I drive my car. I have a job. I pay my rent. I tie my shoes. I'm not a complete defeat. I'm an alcohol defeat. And what we ended up doing was looking at this idea of complete defeat from a mind standpoint, from an internal standpoint. I can drive my car, but if you don't turn left when the light turns yellow, I go ballistic and I want to hurt you. And so I'm a complete defeat at driving on my own power and being okay. And I'm a complete defeat at being in a relationship with another person who doesn't want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I'm a complete defeat at that. And I'm a complete defeat at tying my shoes and not wanting to kill myself by the time I sit up because I don't like my shoes, or I don't like my job, or I don't like where I live, or whatever my mind tells me while I'm tying my shoes. By the time I sit up, I want to kill myself. And I have to see that for my life. When I can admit, so then it goes on to say that the main taproot of this whole society is that I will find no enduring strength until I first admit complete defeat. So I better figure out what this complete defeat looks like, what it's going to look like for me, and how I'm going to actually practice that as a way of life. And the last line in the first step says, I stand ready to do anything which will lift my merciless obsession. So this is prime time. I'm going to guess if you're coming to this meeting, you're probably not mercilessly obsessed to drink alcohol today. But if you're like me, you probably have something that your mind is telling you that if you had that one thing, whatever it is, whatever that thing is, if you had that thing, then you'd be happy. And there's always something that the disease has got rolling around in the back of my head telling me, oh, if you had that, then you'd be happy. When you get there, then you'll be happy. When you get that amount of money in the bank, then you'll be happy. When you get that house or that car or that job or that girl, then you'll be happy. And I become mercilessly obsessed to have that thing. And this is what it sounds like. Somebody says car. My mind says Porsche Macan, black, S, and I want one. And all I can think about while you're talking, whatever you're talking about is a black Porsche Macan S. That's all I can think about. And then my mind says, you know what? You deserve a new car. You should have a new car. And I say, yes, I agree with you 100%, mind. You are smart. We're going to get a new car. We're going to get a Porsche Macan S. And then I go online and I research how much they cost and how long it's going to take me to get it. And I spend most of my waking hours thinking Porsche Macan S, I'm going to get one. I haven't done this yet, but I guarantee you I've done it with other cars. I walk into the dealer and I buy that car. That same mind that wouldn't shut up about how bad I need a Porsche Macan S. That same mind and that same voice would tell me, you're an idiot. Why'd you buy a Porsche Macan S? You can't afford that. Now you have a car payment. You didn't have a car payment yesterday. You're an idiot. And that's the way the disease talks to me. It tells me I should have a new car. And it tells me how smart I am for thinking that I should have a new car. It tells me how much I deserve the new car. The minute I buy the new car, it tells me you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? Same thing with alcohol, right? If you've ever slipped, I don't think anybody slips, by the way. I think what you do when you drink alcohol is you treat the disease with alcohol. I don't think you slip. I think that self-talking, unsatisfiable, fault-finding mind gets so loud that I can't take it anymore, and I'm willing to risk drinking alcohol to try to satisfy that mind, even though I know I'm allergic to it and I'm going to black out and I'm going to crash cars and I might even die or kill somebody. But when that pain gets strong enough, I will consider that. So when I stand ready to do anything which will lift my merciless obsession, when I get to that place where I am finally like, okay, I admit I'm a complete defeat. I cannot fix myself. Then I get to walk into step 2 and I get to start to come to believe right here, right now, at this meeting, right now. I get to start coming to believe more that there's a power and that power is greater than me, and that the power, the one that's greater than me, is the one that's going to restore me to sanity. I don't restore me to sanity. In the 12 and 12, it says, the minute I stop arguing, I begin to see and feel. Now, I can't tell you how many hours I've argued about whether there is or isn't God with you and with me. But the minute I stop arguing about it, either with you or internally in myself, the minute I stop arguing, I begin to see and feel something. Nobody can give you step 2. Nobody can make you come to believe. I can describe how great my relationship is with my higher power. You cannot have a relationship with my higher power. Everybody in this program has to have their own higher power, and everybody in this program has to find a way to come to believe that power, the one that's greater than them, is the one that restores them to sanity. Nobody can give this to anybody. It says in the ABCs that I'm alcoholic and I cannot manage my inner thought life. Well, it says life, but I call it my inner thought life. B, that probably no human power can relieve my alcoholism. You can't do it, and I can't do it, but God could and would if it were sought. And the way that I sought my higher power today, in my life today, the way that I do it is at what it says at the end of the second step. It says, true humility, the humility that I'm alcoholic, I'm allergic to alcohol, and I can never ever drink again. True humility and an open mind, a mind that's open, no preconceived ideas, no old ideas, no story. It's open. Thank you, Craig. It's open to this moment being exactly the way it's supposed to be right now. It's open. It's not arguing. True humility and an open mind can lead me to faith. And every AA meeting, this is an AA meeting, is an assurance that God will restore me to sanity. If I rightly relate myself to it. So going to a meeting does not restore me to sanity. I've been to a lot of meetings and I've heard some great speakers. And I used to drive every Monday night to hear Bob talk at prime time at the Monday night men's stag meeting for the whole time that they had that meeting. And I would get there and I would be self-talking through most of the meeting, not hear a word he said after driving 45 minutes in traffic to get there early to make the coffee, have dinner with Ted, come back to the meeting, sit in the meeting, self-talk about my job or my girlfriend or my car or my house or something stupid, and not hear one word that was said in that meeting and be just as crazy after the meeting as I was when I got there. But God will restore me to sanity right now, right here, right now in this moment, if I will rightly relate myself to it. And I never knew what that meant. And what I found out for myself is rightly relating is talking to it like I would talk to a friend. So I just rightly relate myself to my higher power. God, I'm sitting here at a meeting, looking at all these little faces on the screen. I wonder if they're really there. God, could you be with me? Could you guide me and protect me? Could you speak through me? Could you help me to be the man that you want me to be? And that's how I start. And then I tell it all of my fears and all of my hopes and all of my ambitions. And I share my life. I rightly relate where I'm at right now in my life with my higher power. And when I do that, the craziest thing happens. My self-talking, unsatisfiable mind gets quiet. And every time I sit and rightly relate myself to my higher power, every time I do it, I get a moment of peace. And another moment. And then I see something shiny out in the world and I go chase it and I forget about God. And then when I get in enough pain, I start rightly relating again. And I get another moment of peace. And then I see something shiny and I chase it again. And I think, oh, this is it. I got the right book. Now I'm reading the right self-help book. This is going to get me everything I ever wanted. And it doesn't. And I turn back to my higher power and I start rightly relating and I get another moment of peace. And what happens over time is I start a collection of all these moments of peace where I actually rightly related myself to something and something happened. I got restored to sanity. That's what I call sanity, peace, quiet, no self-talking mind. And when I have enough moments of peace, I am uniquely qualified as Randy, alcoholic, loser. I become uniquely qualified to make a decision. Now I know that I can make a decision to turn my will and my life, my thoughts and my actions over to the care of God as I understood it, because it's understood by me now that when I rightly relate myself, that this thing, whatever it is, I don't know what it is and I do not understand God. But it is understood by me that whenever I do this, I get a quiet mind for the moment that I'm in. And this is the only moment I can have a relationship with a higher power. This is the only moment that I can have a moment of peace. And this is the only moment that matters, this one that's happening right now. And I'm so grateful that I get to have the life that I have today, 100% because of Alcoholics Anonymous and the principles in the program and the relationship with the higher power that comes out of it. And today I'm coming to believe more that there's a power, that it's greater than me, and that it is the power that restores me to sanity. There's a lot more steps. It's great to be in that decision with that higher power. It's great to be in step 3 and be surrendered in this moment and being open to doing what I think my higher power would have me do. But then my phone rings and it's somebody that owes me some money, and it re-energizes a resentment, and that resentment takes me right back into alcoholism, and then I'm back in pain, and then I got to start all over again, admitting complete defeat, coming to believe by rightly relating, and then making the decision again. And if I never take care of my resentments, I just keep doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I hope that I get to see you all again sometime, and I've enjoyed spending this time with you, and I can't wait to hear from all of you. So thank you.